Kim Jong Un has set a very high bar as to, how to restart negotiations. The door is open, of course, and I think he realizes that, the prospects of negotiations under Trump it's higher to get something else than it would be under a more traditional president. But I think there's just still, from the North Korean side, there's no rush to do this.
President Trump has expressed interest in meeting North Korean leader Kim Jong Un. This is during a trip to Asia, adding that he had a great relationship with Kim. We remember they met during the first term. Trump became the first sitting US president to set foot in North Korea when they last shook hands in 2019. So what would a meeting between the two leaders actually look like? Well, Professor Jenny Town is director of the Korea programme at Stimson University. Jenny, thank you for joining me. Just remind us of the history of this, because it did raise quite a few eyebrows and a few heckles actually when President Trump met Kim Jong-un in the first term. Just talk us through that, remind us of the history, and also whether you think that meeting actually achieved anything beyond the symbolic nature of it.
Well, the first time that they met, it was quite a surprise to all. It had been proposed to President Trump, and he accepted immediately without consultation with his staff to have a meeting. It was the first time a U.S. president had met a sitting leader of North Korea. And so that was the first one in the Singapore summit in 2018. They did sign an agreement at that point to work on an agenda that worked towards normalization, towards a peace regime, and towards denuclearization, as well as the recovery of POW MIA remains. They met twice after that. The second time was the Hanoi summit in 2019, in February 2019, where it was largely expected that they were going to get some kind of breakthrough deal to really jumpstart the whole denuclearization process and put the relations on a different level. And that didn't happen. Trump walked away early. Kim Jong-un went home empty-handed. And it really led to kind of very frosty relations in the months after. They tried once again in June of 2019, a very impromptu meeting, much of like what we're hearing, people are expecting now, although I don't think the prospects are very high of it happening, but an impromptu meeting at the Panmunjom in the DMZ, just to check in and see if there was still room for further negotiation at that time. But that also, while it led to working level talks, those working level talks did not amount to any substantive agreement either. And so there really hasn't been any kind of formal contact between the US government and North Korea since 2019.
So are you optimistic in any way that a meeting, A, will happen when Trump is in Asia, and secondly, will yield any results given what you've just said?
I highly doubt that there will be a meeting during this trip. I think it's unclear what the agenda would actually be given North Korea's current stance on denuclearization, and what's left, what the US might want to achieve if it isn't denuclearization. And because there's that ambiguity, I think it's highly unlikely, especially if it isn't already on the books. I do think that there's prospects for, negotiations in the future when the geopolitical situation is more conducive to it. But again, that question will linger as to what it is that we're actually trying to do through these negotiations.
And what about from the North Korean side? Kim has been quoted in state media saying, "I still have a good memory of President Trump." He's talked about what he calls an absurd demand for North Korea to give up its nuclear weapons. From that perspective and from their perspective, what do you think they would want out of it necessarily?
Yeah, I mean, Kim Jong-un has set a very high bar as to, how to restart negotiations. The door is open, of course, and I think he realizes that, the prospects of negotiations under Trump it's higher to get something else than it would be under a more traditional president. But I think there's just still, from the North Korean side, there's no rush to do this. There's no urgency to do this. And so if the moment presents itself, if the public messaging starts to match the private messaging in terms of, having different goals, such as normalization of relations or ending the Korean War, or, working towards a secure, long-term, North Korean state, like those are the kinds of public messages that I think they would be interested in and receptive to. But for right now, every time there's a trilateral meeting between the US, South Korea, and Japan, they come back emphasizing the goal of complete denuclearization. Denuclearization is still very much part of the public narrative. And as long as that continues, I think it's unlikely that Kim Jong Un will be interested.
Jenny, thank you. That is Professor Jenny Town, Director of the Korea Programme at Stimson University. I appreciate you joining us on Times Radio.
Do you have any plans to meet with Kim Jong Un?
Well, I would if he would contact. I mean, the last time I met, I put it out over the internet that I'm coming to South Korea. If he'd like to meet, I'm open to it, certainly. We had a very, yeah, I do. I mean, if you want to put out the word, I'm open to it. They don't have a lot of telephone service. They have a lot of nuclear weapons, but not a lot of telephone service. So I'm open to it. I had a great relationship with him, and he probably knows I'm coming, right? But you want to put out the word, I'm open to it.
You get in touch at all before this trip?
Well, there's not a lot of ways other than the internet. They have very little telephonic service, and but he knows I'm coming, and he would. Yeah, I'd be open to it 100%. I got along very well with Kim Jong Un.
To finalize your trade deal with, or your tariff deal with South Korea on this trip, it hasn't been signed yet.
It's pretty close to being finalized, I think, and so it could be. If they have it ready, I'm ready.
To make concessions to get a deal, are you willing to pause
Yeah,
tariffs?
sure, they have to make concessions. I guess we would too. We're at a 157% tariff for them. I don't think that's sustainable for them, and they want to get that down, and we want certain things from them. I think it'll be very good.
What do you think
Do you believe that China played a role at all in establishing peace between Cambodia and Thailand in their recent conflict? Did China help in that process?
Well, they weren't involved. They weren't.
Will you still sign over preside over this?
Malaysia was involved, actually. So Malaysia helped us. One of the reasons I'm going to Malaysia is they were very, very much involved in the whole thing, Thailand and all that.
What influence do you want China to exert on Russia to stop?
Well, I'd love China to help us out with Russia. We put very big sanctions on Russia. I think those sanctions are going to be, they're very biting, they're very strong. But I'd like to see China help us out. I have a good relationship with, as you know, President Xi. Very good. We're going to be meeting. We'll have a good meeting. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a great meeting, maybe a great meeting. But I think we're going to do some good business. One of the things we'll talk about is the Russia-Ukraine. They're killing 7,000 people a week, soldiers, mostly soldiers, and we'll certainly be talking about that. He'd like to see that end too. And I hear great things about her. I think she's going to be great. She was a great friend of Mr. Abe, who was a great man, Prime Minister Abe, and a great friend of mine, as you know, and he was just a fantastic person, and he liked her a lot. She liked him a lot. So that's a good sign. So I look forward to meeting her.
She's reportedly planning to bring plans to buy Ford F-150 pickup trucks.
Oh, good. Well, that's good. They're great trucks. Are you saying I have that plan or she has that plan?
She has that plan.
Well, that's great. She has good taste.
That's
a hot truck.
That she might eventually try to renegotiate the.
She might. I mean, she might. Look, I'm open to whatever we have a great relationship with Japan, and we're going to have a fantastic relationship with them. So we'll see what happens.
Sir, while in South Korea,